on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your beer.
Keep following the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
We gonna do it.
We're gonna stand by.
North Carolina, come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter. North Carolina, come on and raise up. This one for you, this one for who? Us. Yes, sir. North Carolina, come on and raise up. Take your shirt off, twist it around your head, spin it like a helicopter. North Carolina, come on and raise up. This one for you, this one for who? Us. Yes, sir. Who
Welcome.
am I? Petey Paul, motherfucker. First, put it down for
I guess I should have waited for Petey Paul to do his little intro. How can I try and speak over that? Welcome into hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You are locked into the show where we hit all the trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. I, of course, am your host, Jill Munroe. We welcomed you in with a little Petey Pablo, just around your head like a helicopter. Where is Petey Pablo? What happened to him? Blew up and then just went away. Guess it's a lot of those. Maybe, we'll have a festival. Because I guess it's not appropriate to call people one-hit wonders and things. That's kind of, that's not nice, right? It's mean. But maybe we'll have a festival of, one-hit celebrations. Maybe that won't stick as much. Urban Spinster said, crucial conflict sample. Yep, it sure is. Hey, in the middle of the barn. Shout out to them. I believe they're from Chicago, right? So shout out to Chicago. She said she knew a woman who dated one of them and he was abusive. Oh, well, that wasn't the ending that I was expecting. Sorry to hear that. Allegedly. Moving around with that. Listen. Thank you for rocking with us, VIPs. As always, if you want to get in on any of these topics, you can hit us up, 800-920-1580. You can do that. Take care of that. Also, hit us up on social media, KBLA 1580. Now, in hour 2, I mentioned that, Monique, we've heard her talk about her interesting relationship with her husband, Sydney. It's not for everybody, but, they got a thing, right? So we're going to get into what she has recently said and what other huge superstar has said something similar and see how you feel about that. But before we came forward, I mentioned that there was a comparison happen with Sexy Red, right? So I told you they feel as though her stardom, they meaning some social media users, and again, we're going to keep this in perspective. They're probably young. Maybe they're just imagining, but they feel like it's like Michael Jackson, King of Pop, right? This was, of course, on X. I don't know what you call it when you tweet something out. I guess it's still just a post. But there was a video of Sexy Red walking through a crowd and the fans were yelling. And the person wrote in the caption, Sexy Red, low-key the Michael Jackson of our generation. Could just been clickbait, right? But the thing is, someone followed it up with, you guys are so mad. The concerts don't lie. Has Sexy Red sold out like an 80,000 seat arena? I don't know. I mean, she's done some sold out shows. She got a couple of Billboard 100 hits, but let's slow things down. We will give kudos to the fact that Sexy Red is not currently signed to a major label and has managed to make an impact. I didn't realize that she first went viral in 2018 with her version of Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles, right? So, I mean, people talk about overnight celebrity, but that's a 5-year grind that she was out there, putting in work, trying to make it happen. So you got to salute the work ethic. Somebody on social media responded like, girl, she ain't even the Jackson, Mississippi of our generation. Social media is cruel. Someone else said, y'all generation is in worse shape than I thought. But listen, she does have something, and it seems to be working for her. I am curious to see, like, will it be like a Cardi B situation? Although Cardi B was a little further ahead in her career when she became pregnant with her daughter Culture. It was after her first album had been released. I believe she had released her album by then, but she did have to pull out on a major tour opening for Bruno Mars. So we'll see what happened. And right now, as we know, we are waiting for Cardi to come with her second album, and she's been dropping snippets of songs, and we know she dropped Bongos with Megan, but still seems like they're kind of searching for that hit. She had a really tight first album, flowed really well, like really, an album full of solid singles, if that's what you were into. And I enjoyed it. So make sure you understand that wasn't shade. I'm just, pointing that out. All right, so obviously the Will and Jada news has gotten a lot of people shook. Have been several lengthy discussions on marriage, on relationships, where it stands. Add Rick Ross to the list of people that are now supposedly, because of Jada and Will, shook about the idea of marriage and it happening. Rick Ross took to Instagram and he said that the way that Jada is moving, it makes you not want to be that close to a woman. Makes you even reconsider thinking about marriage. Rick Ross is in his 40s, right? I just feel like if what you see going on with two adults that have been together close to 30 years and have experienced some things, and you as a man who has had several relationships, a couple of rings, and some kids, what are you saying? Why? Are you being facetious, or are you really that shook that, newsflash, married couples have problems? Is it just because you feel, once again, that Jada is wrong? Because Will said he stepped out too. That didn't have you questioning marriage. You think that's normal, standard operating procedures. Stephen A. Smith felt the same way. Stephen A., you're 55. Really? Will and Jada shook you down to your core like that? I don't know. It's amazing to me the conversation that has gone on surrounding this. But when we come forward, we'll get into Monique's comments about marriage and what she believes her husband did for her. And also, did you know that Beyonce said something similar about Jay-Z? So we're going to talk about that and kind of the different yet similar responses to both. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Walk to Save Lives. Join the American Heart Association's Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Sunday, October 22nd at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Team up with friends and family and walk to end heart and stroke. Every step you take and every dollar raised will help save lives and make our community a healthier place for all. Learn more and sign up for free at heartwalkla.org. Sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Providence, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. So minivans, sedans, JDMs, roll out. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. And with eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusion.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, yeah, drop it. Okay. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So, Monique, you know that we have heard a lot about her relationship with her husband, Sydney. They were childhood friends. They reconnected once they were older, got married in 2005, I believe it was. Well, recently the two sat down for an interview with the daughter of late comedian Bernie Mac. She has a podcast. And on the podcast, it talks, they connect stories with comedy legends and the behind the scenes of comedy and that business. And Monique and Bernie were obviously friends. And so she came on. And in the conversation, of course, these worldly topics, these topics about dating that we see frequently across social media. And, we've all talked about them. Ebony K. Williams and the bus driver example. Women going to college for the Mrs. degree. Tyler Perry saying, Black women need to think about if they want love or if they want a list. All of these things. So Monique shared that she believes women today are taught that a man can't do nothing for you without 6 figures. What most describe, not most, some, we should say some. That's a better word. A high value man. We joke about that quite frequently here on this show, right? She said growing up, her mother loved her to the point that even she thought she could do no wrong, right? And she said that her husband loved her through mental illness that she was suffering as a man of integrity and honor. She said that when she was 13, her father abandoned her. And when she turned 35, I guess this is when her and Sydney reconnected, she said now she had a bunch of money, or at least what some would consider to be a bunch of money. And she said she was taking care of everyone. Who was going to check her? Who going to check me, boo? Like Sheree said. Who's going to make me grow up? And she said that though Hicks has never raised his voice at her, he will tell her when something is unacceptable. She said, and I quote, "It is my husband that grew me up. Even at 55 years old, there are still times when he has to say, come on, let's talk. And I'm grateful for that because it makes me a better mother. It makes me a better friend, and it makes me a better entertainer. My husband, my best friend, my brother, he's all of these hats." And a lot of Black women would say, well, why do you call him daddy? And she said, because he's raising me. He's raising me. My father probably stopped giving me what I needed when I was around 13 years old. Listen, on one hand, right, you're supposed to learn from your significant other. you guys are supposed to teach each other things, right? That is how you grow as individuals. That is how you grow together in your relationship. That's what you want, where you can learn from each other, help each other grow, encourage each other, come together. It's a beautiful thing. And, that's what we all, in theory, strive for, right? But I fear what Monique, and she said she's been in therapy and she's worked through some of these things in her last comedy special, that what she's talking about, it seems to be a substitute for the abandonment she felt from her father as a child. So again, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you are not supposed to learn from your mate, that your mate is not the person that is supposed to be able to check you in those moments when you are thinking outside of yourself or maybe doing something that is out of character for the person that they know you to be. There's nothing wrong with that. I mentioned Beyonce a few years back. I'm not sure if it was at her birthday or it was at a anniversary celebration for she and Jay-Z. It was private video that was released, maybe in one of the documentaries or whatever. But Beyonce was sharing that Jay-Z made her a woman. He taught her a lot about being a woman. And a lot of people had a problem with this, largely because there is an age gap or difference in their relationship. And some people feel that the start of their relationship was, grooming is a word that is used quite a bit. I do not necessarily agree with that, but I reserve I am liberal enough to allow people who feel the way that they feel that space to do so. But what I will say is, once again, when you get with someone at a young age, whether you two are the same age or there's an age difference, of course, there is an element of power and control that can come in. But let us not act like that element is not necessarily something that could happen with someone that is the exact same age. That is a personality trait. That is something else. And sometimes things in our past make us vulnerable for certain situations, or we go out seeking what we may have lacked, sometimes in unhealthy places. Sometimes we learn the right way to go through it. So in theory and on its surface, what she is saying is not wrong, but somehow the way that it's put together makes me uncomfortable, I guess. I'm not saying it's wrong, because if it's right for them, and I will always say this and I stand by this, what two people decide works for their marriage is really between the two of them largely. If there's family or children, whatever, but we can't get into that. It doesn't impact us. It may impact their close family and friends if they're venting a lot or something like that, but that is a personal thing. And I think people really get too attached to what they think marriage and relationships should look like when it's really what you two have going on. Andy?
I like what you just said. You probably just don't like her choice of the way she described it, right?
Right.
Because I think, some statistics would show, generally speaking, that some men, when we date women, whether they know it or not, we're kind of looking for our mother.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's kind of like the same thing, right? She just articulated it in a way that's very uncomfortable.
So, again, I on its surface, and really, even when you look into it, what she's saying is not bad. And Beyonce said in a different way the same thing. And again, people don't love her relationship with Jay-Z, but some do. I think that we need to be more realistic about what relationships are, and that there is work in them. And even if they start off perfectly matched, people sometimes grow at different rates. Life takes a turn and takes you in a different direction than what you imagined to be. And so what you were looking for might change. The hope is that you continue to grow together and continue to push each other, but different things happen. But where you are, even if you're 25 when you get into a relationship, is not going to be where you are at 45 by any stretch of the imagination. So I don't know. I just feel like in saying that he raised her, I don't know, that just sounds a little demeaning, you know? I understand that he is an authority figure to her. I don't mean that negatively. I mean that as she spoke it, someone that can set her straight. She has admitted to, being a little over the top with her thoughts and how she moved through life. And if we think about it, that's a common conversation or complaint that I saw it in the comments in one of the videos where we discussed one of these topics, from someone that left a comment. They felt that I was I think it was about the T.O. video. They felt that I was invalidating Terrell Owens' feelings by presenting another aspect to the conversation, which I don't feel like I was doing at all, because I acknowledged them. And we are acknowledging, Monique feeling like in her teen years something was missing and wanting her mate to fill that void. I don't know if that's healthy or not. I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that's a healthy approach to it. Not that he's helping her grow up and mature still, because we know people mature at different rates, and we've certainly seen some grown fools. But I don't know. I don't know if the idea is just icky to me. But, not too bad. Shout out to Fahima in the chat. She mentioned that she checked out the Jay Shetty podcast that Jada Pinkett Smith was on being interviewed. She said it was powerfully insightful and that these people don't know what the heck they're talking about. And she said, "Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I wouldn't have watched it before. As a rule, if it's more than an hour and isn't live, I don't have that kind of time for other people's lives." I can feel you on that, but, I certainly understand that. But I also think that is the beauty about podcasts, because you can tap in as you see fit anytime. You could pause it, come back to it later, so it's kind of built to be customizable for you and your time frame and how you tap in and listen to it. So that's what I appreciate about the format. I think it's worth a listen. I have not listened to all of it. I will tell you that. I think too, much like everybody else, I'm kind of at my fill as far as what more I really want to hear. I got my book in the mail today. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, hit the link in my Instagram stories. It's a link to the book if you're interested in purchasing it. Because like I said, when we talk about these books, we're going to have our RSVP book recommendations, because I like to read. Maybe you guys do too. And sometimes there's interesting stuff out there. I'll point it out. And if you're interested, take a gander, Andy.
Since everybody's over here writing books, and sometimes you'll come through with a story every now and then.
I will.
Have you ever thought about writing a book with just a compilation of just a lot of your stories?
Maybe I share, and I gotta bring it to you. I wrote a book in 2015 called Post Game Pass: Access to the Life, and it is not a memoir. It's not a memoir, but what it is that I've worked in entertainment and sports for a very long time, and at that time period, I had I still have a sports and culture website called JacksonStilettoJill.com. And so I had it for many years, and people would always hit me up on email or on social media and ask me questions, about the behind the scenes stuff of athletes. This was in the early social media days when I first started the site. So obviously most of this stuff is available up there now, but at the time it wasn't. So I wrote a book kind of breaking down what was going on with this new generation of athletes, the differences in, athletes that came up in the 80s and 90s, kind of some of the tentpole and hallmark events that happened that kind of shaped where we are in entertainment and sports, as far as, sports athletes weren't considered celebrities like they are currently. And so there's a lot of different things to the industry, to how we look at them, the opportunities, the money. And yes, I broke down things like how to respectfully cheat. I'm not talking about in the game. I am talking about, I gave advice to professional athletes how they could cheat respectfully, what the problems are. I discussed what a baby's mama golden parachute is. So, yeah, I talked about the 5 cities that professional athletes love, that their significant others hate. There are some stories in there. They are blind items. I did not include names, but I gave y'all some clues, but you know. And then there are also some stories that I did tell outright and talked about and just, broke down some of the things, my opinion on some things. And it's a pretty interesting read. Check it out. I think maybe I'll give them away a copy or two on the show. I do have a VIP prize pack that we're gathering items for you guys to give away, so maybe I'll throw a couple copies of that in there. Shout out to Shannon Thompson in the chat. She says it's a great book. She read it. Thumbs up for that. We like that. Andy.
So Jill.
Yes.
With that being said, you know what I'm saying, you're everything. You tapped in everything, all entertainment. So you got sports.
Mm-hmm.
You got music.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it.
TV and film. Sports, music, TV, film.
Okay, all right. Okay, sports, music, TV, and film.
Yep.
Which arm of the entertainment aspect right there, right, is the most toxic?
What do you mean? In what regard?
Okay. Just drama. You know what I mean? Like, you know how we talk about, Will Smith and Jada broke up, or KPJ, what arm of that entertainment do you think is more toxic, more drama? You get, where do you get the tea most? It could be anything, relationship, drama, just drama, period.
I think that they all are, sometimes in different ways. I think the age of the average participants makes a difference. So I think that, like, there's ratchet stuff in all of them, right? And when I say ratchet, I don't just mean, I'm not just talking about like, ratchet stuff that involves us, black people. I'm talking ratchet on both sides. So, let's be clear on that. We aren't going to do that. That's what we're not going to do. But I do think that there is something about music, because a lot of the participants are much younger, because it is more of a youthful product in a sense, that leads to certain, different types of levels of toxicity. When you think about TV and film stars, for example, they don't tour. Let's start there. I mean, they could, there's promotional appearances, but they don't tour like these artists do. These artists are from clubs to arenas to stadiums, depending upon their level, right? They're in the mix. You also have to think about, like, music is a young person's game for the most part, because younger people now we've seen grown people will spend on a concert. They will put those dollars down, and they have the discretionary income to do such. But festivals are really big now and things like that. So there's different places for music people to interact, and more interaction, although social media obviously is a game changer, but there's more opportunity for people to mix it up with, their fans or people in a different light. So I think that adds to it. When we come forward, we're going to stay on this topic. This might be kind of interesting. Of course, more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports on the other side.
Doing like behind the wall. This right here is for North Carolina. Move that hands up. Take your shirt off. Twist around your head like a helicopter. North Carolina. Move that hands up. This one for you. This one for who?
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. New York State is updating its training for child welfare reporters. Child Welfare Deputy Commissioner Gail Gagan-Pratt, who is black, says the change aims to address racial bias when it comes to reporting cases of abuse and neglect. The former medical director of Seattle Children's Hospital's Odessa Brown Children's Clinic is suing the healthcare system for racial discrimination and retaliation. Dr. Benjamin Danielson filed the lawsuit. Danielson said the hospital permitted the use of racial slurs, failing to remedy known incidents of systemic racism, and more. Jacksonville, Florida is cashing in on a multi-million-dollar settlement with the Mayor's Bank. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland was in the city recently to detail the $9 million agreement, saying the bank's local branches repeatedly redlined communities of color. Amaris was accused of not providing mortgage services to people living in predominantly black and Hispanic neighborhoods throughout the city. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Make home more comfortable, make your business run better, and make California just a little greener in the process. Plan your energy efficiency upgrade. Find qualified contractors and attractive rates at GoGreenFinancing.com.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Following the leader.
Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
A sense of peace, a place to kick back and put down roots, a lasting legacy. However you define home, at City National, we're committed to helping you get there with our City National Ladder Up Home Loan Program. Find the full benefits at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National Bank, here for our clients and communities. Ladder Up program is available only in select areas. Terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS ID 536994.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007, they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
As always, with the theme of the evening, but I have to admit, and you know this rarely happens, I have no idea who that song is, where it comes from. Is that Monica? No, I have no idea. Share with the class, Andy, because I was sitting here like, do I know this song? I don't think I know this song.
I could have sworn you were just singing to it just now. Were you not? I could have sworn.
Interpretive, maybe.
I guess my peripheral was messed up. Wow.
I don't know it.
Okay. I'm going to give you a hint.
Okay.
More Money, More Problems.
The soundtrack?
The song.
Okay. Who sang on the hook? Gina? No, I don't know who.
Wow.
I really don't know.
Come on down.
It happens. Everyone.
Come on down.
Come on down. Bob Barker and The Price is Right.
The Price is Right. More Money, More Problems.
I have no idea.
Who does Zach like on Saved by the Bell?
Lisa Turtle.
No.
No.
That was Screech.
That was Screech. What was Tiffany Amber Thiessen's character name? Kelly? Was that her name?
Yeah. Come on down.
Listen.
You saying her name.
Laura Jill, Kelly and Stokely. Kelly, like motivation.
Kelly Price.
Rowland. Oh, Kelly Price.
There you go.
Kelly Price. Shout out to Aubrey Sinclair and Urban Spinster. And Stokely, like mint condition Stokely, right? Okay. Let me tell you, I have never heard that song before in my life. Never heard that song before in my life. Never. I'm going to go look it up now because obviously I've been shamed. I should know it. The chat is admonishing me.
I'm quite surprised. Name of the song is Not My Daddy.
Listen, that right there might be why I have never heard it. You know, save maybe a few songs. I don't really get down with the daddy in the title for a couple of those things. Like Beyonce had Daddy. That was a country western song. That was a dedication to her father. But, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this was released as like a single from her. I'm not really too sure, but it was definitely one of them cuts that, you know, you had to be watching Video Soul on BET or whatever to know about the record. Know about the thing.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, friend of mine, the old school Kelly Price stuff when Terrell Owens was in the video and stuff like that. Shout out to T.O. Urban Spinster's going in on me. She said, you did not respect the name Kelly Price by saying Kelly Rowland. I mean, is it all that Kelly Rowland got pipes? Kelly Rowland can blow, and she is beautiful. Let me tell you something. I could look at Kelly Rowland all day. That is a special brand of perfection right there. Love Kelly Rowland. You know, having said that, I don't know no daddy. What's good?
Why do we compare Kelly Rowland and Beyonce so much?
I mean, I think it's a natural thing because we were introduced to them at the same exact time. We've seen them, you know, through the same exact process and things like that. Somebody, I'm sure, probably compared Bobby Brown and Ralph Tresvant at one point in time.
Were they comparing some of the New Edition members like that at the time?
I think that there were certain things. One, you know, when Bobby left the group, there wasn't the expectation that he would be successful, right? When they came out again with his second album, the album that blew up, that album and Any Heartbreak were released within a few months of each other. And then they went on that big tour. So they were still connected enough, but separated enough. Theirs was an interesting dynamic. But I feel like, one, I think it is the obvious physical difference. Like, they're both beautiful, but one is light and one is brown. So people are automatically going to want to have that conversation and breakdown. Well, which one looks better? Well, this one just looks better because she's lighter. No, well, you're just saying this one looks better because she's browner, when really, listen, those are two beautiful women put together. I don't feel like you could go wrong either way. But I think, too, people felt like Kelly was in Beyonce's shadow, and I think they even more so felt that because she was brown. Urban Spinster still going in on us right here. Oh, listen to adult contemporary radio. Andy Rowland cannot blow. I mean, is she Kelly Price? No, but I think that Kelly Rowland has a nice voice. I think she could hold her own. She got some chops. Am I wrong? Fahima says, Jill, it came out in 2011 on the album Kelly. Oh, yeah, I wasn't paying attention to Kelly Price about 2011. I shouldn't be like that. But what I can say is I remember there was that 2011, I forgot about Kelly Price. I was on to something else. I don't know. Was that when Tinashe was too on? No, I'm just playing.
Low key.
That was what, 2013, 2014?
2011. This was J. Cole, Kendrick.
Yeah,
Nicki.
I was in a different vibe, you know. Although I will say, I understand why Nicki did it. We are just all over the place, but it's okay. It works. It fits. We're holding it together. I understood Nicki's pop moment, and there were some songs I even, tapped a toe to, or, were in appreciation of. But I really did not love Nicki's pop. I hated those wigs. I got it, but I hated it. I totally get what it did, and I know why it worked for her career-wise, and I know what she was doing, and I appreciate the risk, but I was like, this is not what I was looking for from Nicki Minaj. I don't know, but shout out to Nicki. Listen, she's another one searching for a single, hasn't been able to find it. I do find it interesting that even though it's in different ways, she and Cardi are both kind of looking for the heat on a heat-seeking missile. The one who I think is going to come through, Megan. We'll have to see what she does on her own creatively. Speaking of Megan, you'll like this segue because I'm making it all fit now. She's officially a free woman. We know that she's been going back and forth with 1501 Certified Entertainment and the label's president, former Dodgers star Carl Crawford. We know he's had a lot to say. Well, according to attorneys for 1501, the parties have finally mutually reached a confidential settlement to resolve their legal differences. They will amicably part ways. A statement from the label said, both Megan and 1501 are pleased to put this matter behind them and move forward with the next chapter of their respective business. Carl added that he wishes Megan the very best in her life and career. So we don't know what the settlement ended up being. I'm sure Megan had to fork out some dough, but she's free. She is free. And so, we know that her next project is going to be independently funded as she searches for a label. So I am really, really curious to see what the evolution of Megan Thee Stallion will be. And I hope it's with some different, better producers because, my feelings about that. Megan can spit. Megan has some good songs, but some of those songs need better production value, my opinion. Forensic accountant says LaToya in Bill's video, I wasn't thinking about Beyonce nor Kelly. Listen, all four of those ladies were beautiful. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, shout out to Forensic accountant because that was the follow-up question. Like, we automatically just went to Kelly and Beyonce, but we never mentioned LaToya. We never mentioned LaTavia. And even when Michelle came into the game, we never really...
So when we come forward, I will say something about that because I kind of feel like I think one of the strong suits about them, I mean, Beyonce was the centerpiece, but I think one of the strongest things about them was that they were all for, much like In Vogue when they first dropped, attractive women. Very, attractive girls. But I'll get into what I have to say about that on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talents, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Nissan has a car for every driver who wants more. More action. More fun. More guts. More head turns. More adventure. More electric. At Nissan, more is all we do.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So we were talking about Destiny's Child when we first came out, and the question was posed, why do people always pit Beyonce and Kelly against each other? And then, also, why do they forget about the other members? I feel like one of the things that stood out about Destiny's Child when they dropped was, one, at the time, we didn't have a lot of younger girl groups in that part. Like, in the early 90s, sure, but that had kind of fallen off by the end of the 90s, early 2000s. So when they came back out, it was like really just them. And it was these young girls that were obviously had vocal ability. And to me at the time, they were a little younger than me, but looking at them and finding out they were 17, I remember I was shocked. I was like, oh, they look like women and they got body and, they were doing it. Looking back, it doesn't really seem like they had bodies like that, but it could just be that we're all jaded now because all we see are BBLs and we don't remember when smaller physiques were just, the thing. But anyway, I feel like that is one of the things about Destiny's Child that people went crazy over, was that it was a group that had, 4 women with 4 distinct looks. Right? It was before we started trying to do the mismatch group thing. Well, the Spice Girls really kind of pioneered that in the late 90s where each member had their own look. But, I felt like that was one of the things that was really nice about Destiny's Child is that each girl had their own look, but they were all attractive, all, they all could sing. And then, too, when Farrah was in the group for 2.3 seconds, Destiny, there were debates on if she looked better than Beyonce. And, we heard the rumors that people said, oh, she had to dye her hair and tan so that she could be distinctive from Beyonce and things of that nature. So I think for them, yeah, Beyonce was the centerpiece because she's the lead singer, but I feel like that was one of the things that was stand out about them and people commented on, that there was like 4 really attractive women in that group. So, I don't know. Just my thoughts. So listen, Nas's multimedia company, Mass Appeal, it's being sued by their former head of development, Melissa Cooper. So according to Cooper, she's a white woman. She said that she was subjected to racist comments in the workplace and that she was frequently exposed to words like cracker and white folk during her employment there. She alleges that the senior VP for partnerships and content acquisition, Jenya Meggs, who is black, accused her of displaying usual white folk behavior. The ex-employee also claims to have been booted from several projects before being fired in June of 2023. Now, Nas was not mentioned in the suit at all, but do we think that, I guess we're on the tail end of it, but do we think that this is something that we'll see more of as more people are, for lack of a better word, considering themselves tired of the wokeness in workplace and tired on the emphasis of that? I think that as black people, sometimes we feel our own sense of entitlement to be able to, as George Jefferson used to say, hit them with a honky or a cracker. And we understand why you might feel that way about certain people and certain things that they have done, but you can't really do that. And I feel like people don't, not that they don't understand it, but they don't respect it because, of all the travesties and things that we've been exposed to. Andy?
No, I just think that I don't want to say it's going to be worse, but I think we're moving into times where you got to be very, very delicate.
I agree. I just, because there's always the debate. People say, can black people be racist? And, the response is, well, racism involves power of structures and systems. So, no, but they could be prejudiced.
Prejudice like a mug. The reality is we are.
And, we are. It's like, is everybody? No. Is everybody on the other side? No. But there are definitely some people. And I know it's hard, especially over the past couple of years, the things that we've seen and experienced, especially from, people that are supposed to be leaders, people that we're supposed to respect and look up to. But I don't know. I don't think that you should go around calling white people crackers. I don't think that is a good idea.
It's crazy because, you see it on regular TV sometimes.
Right.
Regular TV, not cable TV, but regular TV.
I feel like when you think about like comedies of the 70s, like the Jeffersons, like I mentioned, All in the Family, those type of things, that type of humor was, it was okay. It was shown. We all laughed at, Red Fox, Fred G. Sanford, hitting those jokes, but we aren't there as a society anymore. And while I think that comedy is an elixir for a lot of things, I feel like, and I do think it is a way to explore sensitive topics with laughter. Because as I've said before, I'm someone that finds humor in a lot of things. And maybe it's a coping mechanism. I don't know. But it gets us through. And I think that it is something that the Black community has always done, used humor to get through difficult or uncomfortable situations. But Thomas Outlaw in the chat says, what about Vanilla Fields? I have never heard white people being addressed as Vanilla Fields. That's a new one to me. I've seen people point at the palm of their hand, things like that. But I still think we are at a critical turning point as far as society. Not only have we taken leaps and bounds backwards, life is still moving forward. So technology makes dealing with these things much different than it did, I feel like, in the 50s and 60s going through that process. Forensic Accountant says, shout out to Mr. White Folks who never let race stop him from showing up at the Players Ball. Mr. White Folks did show out. Isn't he from Chicago? But listen, that's kind of different. I just think that people are being unrealistic if you feel like you can have an environment where someone feels disrespected in that way. Because yes, a lot of people are going to give Black people a little bit more leeway, but we see it happening every day. You see with what happened at Harvard with those rulings about affirmative action. You see that same lawyer went after some of the accelerator programs and venture capitalist funds that were providing funding to Black women and said that was racist and is challenging those things. So, people are tapping into ways that they can get in and get their benefit from our pain, from things that were utilized to correct all of the past mistakes. So we are in a interesting time frame. Thomas Outlaw in the chat also says, maybe the bruh delegation will ease up on the name calling and jokes and sensitivity when others stop hurting others. Maybe. I don't know. I think that, we are hardcore. We are hardcore on each other. I haven't talked about this. I wasn't really sure how to get into it. There's a video from a comedian. Well, I don't know if he's even a comedian, but a podcaster, Funny Marco. And his whole thing is to be kind of dry. And he recently had G Herbo and is it Southside? I think it's the guy's name. I'll look it up. But they, much in the Offset Bobby Altoff interview manner, gave it back, but it was much worse. They broke his $30,000 watch. They talked about his skin, his complexion. They threw a hat at him and felt entitled to do so and thought that people were being sensitive. So I think sometimes we go hard in the paint on people and our sensitivity meters are much, much higher than the average person. And I think there needs to be a meeting in the middle. When we come forward, we're going to get into hour 3 of RSVP with Jill Munroe. We're going to take a look at not Will Smith, good Lord. We've had enough of Will Smith for this week. We're going to talk about Denzel and Jamie Foxx. Who is the more diverse actor? We're going to get into that. And of course, more trending topics and headlines. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network.